Hey, this is Chris from Two Travel Dads.
Hey, this is Rob. He's getting really good at introducing us for our podcast,
That was my first try.
and it was great. Look at the sound waves.
Oh yeah, it's
Um,
huge.
so,
So much enthusiasm.
anyways, right now we're going to talk to you about Disneyland versus Magic Kingdom. So not Disneyland
What's
versus.
Magic Kingdom?
Well, I was just going to explain. Don't interrupt. I was going to say Disneyland versus Magic Kingdom, which is not just Disney World, because Disney World is it encapsulates, Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, and Hollywood Studios. Disneyland is Disneyland, and then there's California Adventure, right? So I'm not talking about the Disneyland Resort versus Walt Disney World Resort, but Disneyland versus Magic Kingdom, and what's different, and what you prefer, why, all that stuff. So yeah,
Cool. Exciting.
yeah. Do you want to talk about what you like most before we get into what is not awesome?
What I like most about
About either park, Disneyland or Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom being the Disneyland version of what's in Florida.
well, I think both, whether or not you're in California or Florida, you can get Dole Whip. So I think that's really amazing because both places get hot and Dole Whip is delicious.
So there's a winning point for both parks.
Unless you're like Elliot and you hate pineapple.
But you know what? He really liked the Hey Hey ice cream treat, which was a Dole Whip with decorations,
There you go.
which is available in Disney World. Good times. So you like both parks equally because you can get Dole Whip in both. That is not the most solid argument I've ever heard. So I think,
It was an easy entry into this talk.
okay. Well, I will say that as far as food goes, no, let's not talk
Oh,
about that because,
well.
that's just controversial.
Food by far is far superior at Disney World and Disneyland.
It's true. I really want that to not be true because, spoiler alert, I prefer Disneyland to Disney World, hands down. So, what I think is equally great about both Disneyland and Disney World Magic Kingdom is the feeling when you are entering and you walk down Main Street. Both are equally magical, even though Disney World is a little bit more grand and you've got a more grand castle. I feel like both of them give you that same exact excitement and feeling. So I think that they are tied for that. Yeah. But beyond that, I there's very few things where I'm going to vote for Magic Kingdom over Disneyland. So let's start with talking about Adventureland. Because Adventureland, I think, is the coolest. You've got your Jungle Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your Indiana Jones,
Mm-hmm.
but not in Disney World. Or was it? No, there wasn't Indiana Jones in Disney World.
I don't think so.
No, there wasn't. All of a sudden, I was like, wait, there was, but that was Disneyland Paris. Remember
We're not
that
talking
really
about that, but-
cool? I know that's not part of this, but Disneyland Paris has an Indiana Jones roller coaster. Do you remember that?
I don't remember that, but I
How do you
should.
not remember
I don't
that?
know.
I thought it was awesome. But Adventureland, I think is pretty awesome in Disneyland. It's very small and very condensed. You've got just basically the Jungle Cruise. You've got some Aladdin-themed dining. You've got some cool shops. And then what used to be the Swiss Family Robinson Treehouse when is now the Tarzan Treehouse. But that's kind of it for Adventureland in Disneyland.
Well,
Pirates is not there. Pirates is in New Orleans Square.
that's wonderful. But what about the Tiki Room?
Oh, I guess the Tiki Room is in Adventureland.
It is in Adventureland, and I think that's something. So one of the things that I really like about Disneyland is that it's the original park. And when I see some of the attractions there, I know that they're the same attractions that my mom went on when she was a kid and told me about when I was growing up. And so I think there's something amazing about the history that's there. Like especially the Tiki Room. Going in the Tiki Room, you're seeing all those amazing animatronic birds. I know I saw them like watching Disney Afternoon or Wonderful World of Disney on like Sunday evenings, and seeing the same
At
things.
7:00 on Channel 4.
7 o'clock, exactly, right? But I lived for that stuff as a kid. Not, I didn't get to go to a Disney park until I was in my 20s. So
I remember your first time.
I know I was with you, but that's one of the reasons why I prefer Disneyland when it comes to the Magic Kingdom to Disney World, just because there's the history and there's something magical about that.
Yeah. But since you started with Tiki Room, I will say I like the Disney World Tiki Room more.
Yeah.
It's bigger. Oh, you didn't get to do it when we were there.
Nope.
Oh, I
I'm
took
like,
the
huh?
kids. The kids loved it. It's bigger, a little more comfortable, but you can't hear the birds sing as well.
Oh,
I know,
what's the point?
but I mean I think that's part of the downfall of it being a little bigger. So, but Disney World's Magic Kingdom, they've also got Aladdin's Magic Carpets there and a really cool meet and greet spot for Aladdin and Jasmine that I thought was neat. And because it's so much hotter, on average in Florida, they've got really cool Tiki God, kind of like sprinkler spray station that I found was really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And we spent several like minutes each day just there.
Well, the kids also like, I can't remember if you mentioned it, but they also love the Tarzan's Treehouse.
Oh yeah, yeah. They thought that the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse in Magic Kingdom was really cool because clearly they saw like the cool inventions of it all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they do love going through Tarzan's treehouse in general.
Yeah, but isn't it interesting though when you go to Disney World that Pirates of the Caribbean is in Adventureland?
You mean in Disneyland? Oh, and in Disney World,
Dis-
it's in Adventureland. I know, yeah, because Disney World Magic Kingdom doesn't have New Orleans Square, so they don't have like a Caribbean area.
Nope.
So, but that does bring me to something that I think is super cool about Magic Kingdom that Disneyland doesn't have.
What's that?
In Independence Square, the Muppets.
That was so cool.
So you have to kind of plan it and watch for it. It's in the daily show schedule. But in Magic Kingdom in Florida, in Independence Square, it's kind of set up like Philadelphia. The Muppets pop out of the windows above the square, and you get the story of independence and the Declaration of Independence. And I think it is just the coolest. And, Fozzie and Miss Piggy and Waldorf and Statler and everybody popping out to give you a history lesson, I think is super cool. And even though it's so little and minor, I think it's one of the coolest things about Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But then I love the Muppets, and I think they're awesome. So, okay, so we talked about New Orleans Square versus that. Oh, Haunted Mansion. Which do you like better, Disney World or Disneyland?
Disneyland.
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah, well, again, it's one of those things that I remember the stories from my mom as a kid talking about the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. And so it's exactly as she described it to me when I was a kid. And so I really like going through there and having that experience. But, I mean, Disney World is still super cool. It's totally different from the outside, and it's...
It's actually closed right now, too.
Oh, bummer.
They're doing a full reno on Haunted Mansion.
All right.
Yeah.
There
So
you
who
have
knows
it.
what it's going to be like when it's done.
We'll have to go back.
I know, it's true. And the thing that I like about the Disneyland Haunted Mansion over the Magic Kingdom one is the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay that they do. That is just the coolest. It starts with Halloween time and it goes through after New Year, and it's just the coolest. We got to do it like 2 months ago. Elliot and I went down for Halloween time, and he thought it was the coolest thing he's ever seen. Jack Skellington and Zero and everybody, and it's not as creepy, it's much more fun and funny. And I think that for little kids, that helps because in general, it's just kind of, even though it's pretend, it's creepy. But the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay, I think is awesome.
No, it's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on from there, you know what I love about Magic Kingdom that Disneyland doesn't have?
What?
Oh, I thought you were going to guess. I really love the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Yes.
That is like the best ride.
That was a super fun coaster. And the kids loved it too.
Oh my
It was
gosh,
so
yes.
fast. For being something that the kids can totally go on, it was a great, thrilling ride.
As an adult, it's a thrilling ride.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And also, every roller coaster designer ever needs to pay attention to the engineering behind the mine carts and how smooth they are. The whole thing of them being on bearings or casters or whatever it is that makes it so that they can kind of swing with the turn. It makes it so smooth and amazing. And if every roller coaster was like that, I'd be so happy.
Yeah, that was and just the theming and stuff inside was super cool. I really loved that. That was a great ride.
But yeah, that is the best ride in Magic Kingdom. However, the best ride in Disneyland, what would you guess that is? What would you say that is? There's a lot of thought going on here.
The best
He's
ride
gonna say teacups.
in Disneyland, in all of Disneyland,
In all of Disneyland,
in all of Disneyland, the best ride is Space Mountain.
I
It
would
is
agree.
Not the teacups. Teacups are fun, but Space Mountain is the best ride.
And I would say that Space Mountain Disneyland is far superior to Space Mountain in Disney World.
Yes. However,
So much better.
I'm not talking about Disneyland Paris, but Space Mountain and
Oh,
Disneyland Paris.
Disneyland
is super
Paris,
cool.
that one. Space Mountain Disneyland Paris. We should just talk about that because that's amazing. So let's take a second to appreciate. You start outside at Space Mountain in Disneyland Paris, so your eyes are adjusted to the outside, and then you rocket vertically into Space Mountain, and you can't see anything, and you have no chance to kind of, I don't know, take in your surroundings, and
No, you just go.
that's the best roller coaster in.
And there's a loop in that one. I feel like.
I
If
don't
remember right,
remember.
It's been a long time.
I
but-
just remember that I couldn't see anything, and it was amazing. Good times.
Yeah, but no, Space Mountain is the best ride. I love the music. I love the theming. Just the ride itself is super fun.
Do you know what I learned yesterday?
No.
The guy who composed the music for Disneyland Space Mountain is the same guy who did all the music for Up
Oh,
and Inside Out.
interesting.
Michael Giacchino or Giacchino.
I don't know him.
Yeah, he's the same guy who made that like whimsical Up theme that makes you cry when you hear it. Created the song for Space Mountain.
Oh, that's very cool.
The more you know.
Yeah, that's definitely the number one ride though. Number two, oh, that's hard too. But I think in all of Disneyland, it would have to be Splash Mountain.
Yeah. And so this is a great moment to kind of do a little compare and contrast. So the difference between Splash Mountain Disneyland versus Splash Mountain in Magic Kingdom, there's a couple. So the first one is do you have any that come to mind?
Not at all.
Okay. So Disneyland, you sit front to back. Like you all sit in a line as you do like get into your log. In Disney World, you sit side by side.
Oh, that's right.
So you're in
Yeah.
a wider log and things don't quite seem as dramatic. So that I think is the biggest thing. So the Disney World Splash Mountain is not as scary for little kids.
Got it. Got
Yeah.
it.
The other thing is the music. Yeah. So
Separate?
yeah, the music's totally different. The music in Disneyland is kind of it's like a smaller choir singing, and there's a lot more like little individual animal solos. In Disney World, if you listen to the music, it's like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir is in there, like dressed in overalls.
I'll have to pay more attention next time.
Well, let's go and we can do a comparison. But yeah, no. So the in one of them, it's very you can tell it's the original from like the late '80s, and it's awesome and I love it. And the other one is definitely much more produced.
Huh.
So yeah,
Yeah,
having done Splash Mountain Disneyland so many times, I feel
So-
like
that's all I know really.
yeah. There you
But and then the third, if I was to do top three, it's Big Thunder Railroad.
yeah. Oh my gosh! But you know what? I have to say, Big Thunder in Disney World is better.
Yeah, why?
It's faster, it's longer, it has much cooler area outside for waiting. The geysers are cool. Yeah, I liked it more, definitely. And I think it's a lot smoother than the one in Disneyland. Because, I mean, the one in Disneyland is also really jerky.
Well, it's kind of old.
Yeah, so, yeah. No, I think that was a great assessment of your three favorites.
Those are my top three. But I will say, like, also one of my favorite, I guess it would be number 4, and I'll just give it in there as like a final runner-up.
The People Mover.
No. Well, I guess, and this is just Disneyland. I'm not even thinking about Disney World and Magic Kingdom, but would be Finding Nemo.
I do love Finding Nemo, and you know what? That's actually what I was
Love
going to pick
Nemo.
for my number 2.
Oh, for number 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I call those an experience, because you're just watching something, versus the others, which are like more of a ride. But Finding Nemo it's just so cute.
Yeah, it's adorable, and I love the effects of the multi-layered screens that they use for their projections. I think that's really, really nifty. Um, the kids,
They love it.
they love it,
They
but
really
also
think
they
they're
have
going
such, but
underwater.
they have such fear of it until they get on it.
I know.
Like, there's so much anxiety about getting on the submarine, and then once they're on there, they're like, "Oh, look at that!" Which that always makes me happy, and it's a great
Yeah.
tool to take them on there and then remind them of how scared they were, and then how much better it got, and how much they loved it by the time they were done. Great tool for convincing them to try other things. So, um, so I wanted to real quick hit on something that you haven't got to experience yet, which is Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, no clue.
Yeah. So, again, Elliot and I got to go without everybody else, which was really special. That was mine and Elliot's first like daddy son trip, and we got to go to Galaxy's Edge when it first opened, first thing in the morning, and he didn't want to ride the Millennium Falcon and do Smuggler's Run, but I did. So a couple quick tips is that yes, definitely go first thing in the morning if you can, because the crowds just continue to grow throughout the day. The second part of that is that because it's not something where you're sitting side by side and you're enjoying watching your family's reactions and stuff, you can go single rider and you skip a good portion of the queue, which is a bummer, but it's much better than waiting 90 minutes to 2.5 hours to ride an attraction. So if you can swing the single rider line, go for it. I think it's completely worth it. The ride itself is really cool effects. It's very involved. So if you haven't been on it, I'm not going to say how it's involved, but it's a very involved ride. So I think that's really special. And yeah, it's nifty. The thing that I loved the most about Galaxy's Edge, though, was the presence of Jedis and stormtroopers and Chewie. Yeah, when we got in there, because we were one of the first in, Elliot got to meet Chewie when he first showed up, and Chewie took time out of like going to meet everybody else to come and like hang out with Elliot, and it was super special, and I kind of welled up because I cry really easily, and it was amazing. So yeah, Galaxy's
I
Edge.
can't wait to go.
I know, super cool. And now at Hollywood Studios at Disney World, they don't just have Galaxy's Edge with Smuggler's Run. They also have Rise of the Resistance, which I've heard is both awesome and is quite the lengthy ride. So I think, gosh,
Really?
it's like 15 to 20 minutes or something of the actual like attraction itself. Like you've got the whole time going through the queue, which can really
This
take.
is still just Disneyland.
I know, sorry, I just like totally spiraled off into Hollywood Studios.
Okay. Well, I was confused because we were talking about Disneyland versus just Magic Kingdom and Disney World, right?
Yes.
Not like Animal Kingdom, Pandora.
Yeah, no,
blah.
but I started talking about that because I was talking about Galaxy's Edge, which
Yeah.
is in Disneyland in California. So in
Yes. Still just the big blanket of Disneyland,
yes, well, it's in
which has like Tomorrowland,
Yes.
Adventureland.
yes,
Yeah.
the Disneyland Park.
Yeah.
So in Disneyland Park in California, that's where Galaxy's Edge is. In Hollywood Studios at Disney World is where Galaxy's Edge is in
Got
Florida.
it. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good times. I don't remember what I was going to talk about.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Other cool things that I think are pretty cool about Disney World versus Disneyland. I really loved Fantasyland at Disney World. I enjoyed how they had more indoor rides because they know it's hot. And it's more spread out, which is cool.
What I do know is that one of the things that I really like about Disneyland is how easily accessible things are. Meaning, if you're staying at the Grand Californian or the Disneyland Hotel, it makes it really easy to get in the park. You're not like hiking forever, right? You can go into the park, you can do some stuff, you can go back out to your hotel and relax, and then you go back into the park. Or even if you're staying off site, it's actually fairly close still. But at Disney World, even when we were staying in one of their properties, things are so far, and you have to really plan to take a bus and wait for a bus, and get on the bus, right? I mean, it's so much planning in terms of your transportation, which
Yeah.
just adds time to the whole experience. So I
And that's
mean,
the same whether you're talking about just like visiting Magic Kingdom or visiting any of the four parks
oh
in
yeah,
Disney
yeah.
World. Yeah.
Well, when you visit any of the four, oh my gosh, just like multiply that time. But it's unfortunate, but the experiences are still great. But you just have to be aware that you're going to be taking buses.
Yeah, it's funny because when I start to talk about Disney World, it sounds like I can't stand it and like I'm just anti Disney World. I really do enjoy it so much. But the things that, for me, as both like a parent and a tourist, were exasperating really did impact how much I enjoyed it both in the moment and like in retrospect. Like that transportation was that was a big thing. I mean, just for like going to Magic Kingdom, the options for getting there, you can take the shuttle and then from the shuttle you can take the boat and then you still have to walk from the like boat terminal to the main gate. So there's just that aspect of transportation. Or if you don't want to rely on the Disney provided transportation all around Disney World, then you can take a minivan or an Uber or something like that.
They partner with Lyft, I think, the mini service
Is that who
bus.
the minivan goes through? Is Lyft? Yeah, but no, you can hire a car to drive you around to the different parks, and it just becomes so costly, and it does definitely save you time over using the general shuttle system. But
Something to
man, that
think
adds
about.
up. So so still love Disney World. It's super cool, really amazing, one of a kind experience. But man, everything is so far away. So it's funny because I was actually, again, not talking about Magic Kingdom, but now talking about Animal Kingdom a little bit. I was doing some research and trying to kind of update an article about Animal Kingdom, which is linked in the show notes. Um, but I was trying to understand just like the different like Disney operated accommodations around Disney's Animal Kingdom, and even the Animal Kingdom Lodge and the villas, you still like you can walk like it's like a mile and a half from the lodge to the entrance, or you can take their provided shuttle. Like it still isn't something where
Direct.
yeah, you can't just
Not
walk
like
there.
when you can walk out of the Grand California right into down or California Adventure.
Which I mean, like front when it comes to the Magic Kingdom, the Grand Floridian and then I think it's the Pop Century are both right there. So you can walk, but even still, that's just two of all the many hotels that I would consider walking distance versus Disneyland, where the three Disney properties are all easily walking distance, as are like 29 other good neighbor hotels that are just like a block or two away. So that's a huge difference and also kind of a huge cost difference too, especially when you start considering like booking private transportation
Yeah.
just to get you to the park. Anything else that you really want to talk about that's very different between Disney World and Disneyland as far as or Magic Kingdom and Disneyland? Trying to think. I mentioned People Mover for just a moment, which I really enjoy the People Mover in Disney World. It goes through Tomorrowland and it's just a great way to kind of see the park. And it has some fun areas because it takes you through some of the different attractions. And they used to have that in Disneyland as well. And it's kind of like a weird thing to mention, but in 1999, they changed out the People Mover in Disneyland and they turned it into rocket rods. And I think that was one of the best rides Disneyland ever had, which you never got to do that. But it went along the People Mover track and apparently it was kind of dangerous. But it was like a roller coaster that just accelerated you all along this flat platform above Tomorrowland.
Huh.
It was awesome.
I think one other big difference between the two is that when you're in Disneyland and you're there on Main Street, by the fire hall, you can actually see the lamp in Walt's old office that's always still lit, which you don't get to see in Disney World
Yeah, I don't. Yes, with
because
Disney
Walt
World.
wasn't there.
Yeah, and I don't know any of the cool little things about Disney World. I know tons of those little snippets
Hmm.
for Disneyland,
Yep,
but
because that's the original.
yeah, it would be
So there's
interesting
just
though
still
to
something
find
unique
out.
about that.
It'd be interesting though to find out if there are some of those elements that are incorporated. So that was our rough analysis of Disneyland versus Magic Kingdom. We will definitely have to come back and talk more about Disneyland Resort because, I mean, we've got so much experience there. I used to work there, and when we lived there, it was our go-to for everything because we did not necessarily love living in Orange County, but we loved having Disneyland at our disposal. So be watching for more episodes specifically about Disneyland and our tips for planning, as well as really digging into California Adventure, which I think is the coolest park.
Oh yeah, it gets better and better all the time.
Yeah, every time they do something in California Adventure, it gets better. So watch for that episode as well. If you have any questions or anything, always feel free to leave a comment on the show notes page or send us a message. The link is there as well. And yeah, let us know how we can help. And I guess we'll just talk to you next time.
All right, until next time.
Take care. Bye.
Doodles.
Two Travel Dads podcast is written by Rob and Chris Taylor and produced by Rob Taylor in Squamish, Washington. If you would like to be a guest on the Two Travel Dads podcast or would like to sponsor it, go ahead and visit us at bit.ly/2tdwork.